Everyone says Bettendorf is the place to be, but between rising costs and pricey projects, some are now questioning, is it still worth it? Today, we're going to go through Bettendorf and see if it is still worth it in 2026. Say what you want about Bettendorf, the one thing you cannot say about Bettendorf is that it is not growing. Bettendorf is the fastest growing city in the Quad Cities, bar none. You see projects happening all the time, specifically up by the Betplex area. The Betplex area is the fastest growing area that we really have in the Quad Cities, let alone Bettendorf. We have new structures going up like hotels. We got the Iron T that was built not too long ago. We have new clinics. The ORA is going up there. And I think there's a bank and 2 hospitals. There is a lot of development happening up there. And it's great to see growth in the city. But it does also allow in maybe a little more pricey projects, may I say. And that one in particular that I'm thinking of is the pedestrian bridge, which has recently been approved by the city council to actually partake. And this one's a little bit controversial in Bettendorf because some people think it's a waste of money and some people think it's going to be a great infrastructure project. But they actually had to, re-budget to make it happen. They do have to possibly get a little more taxes to make the project happen. So some people are not really all for it. And that's one of the reasons that people say maybe Bettendorf is not really worth it because things are going up in cost. But on that same token, just recently, Bettendorf had a referendum on the ballot. And that referendum was actually about building a police station. And you'd think after somebody not wanting the bridge, expensive project, that maybe they wouldn't want an expensive police station. I believe it's gonna be like $27 million to build this place. But the weird thing about it is the referendum actually passed, and everything that you see online, from Facebook to news articles to whoever talking to somebody on the street, most people are really excited for it. And they see it as not a waste of time and money. They see it as a part of the process in building up Bettendorf. So really it comes down to what the project is and if people are willing to put their taxes behind it. So you see both sides of the coin when it comes to Bettendorf really building up and if people like it or not. Schools are always a big draw for people wanting to move to Bettendorf. And what schools in particular? Well, we have 2 main school systems here in Bettendorf, and that is Pleasant Valley and Bettendorf. And over time, Bettendorf has had a really good reputation for schools. And I'm not saying they don't have a good reputation, but just in this year, I noticed that on niche.com, Pleasant Valley, which has been the reigning king of schools, not just in the Quad Cities, but in the state of Iowa, they are the #1. They have now recently dropped to, wait for it, #2. Yes, they are #2, which I guess is technically a drop. But with all the schools in Iowa, I think #2 is still pretty good. Bettendorf is not a slacker either because they are the 2nd best school right behind Pleasant Valley in the Quad Cities. So it's still much of a draw, but it did drop a little bit in the ranking system. But to be quite honest with those ranking systems, especially like niche.com, sometimes it's a little arbitrary on how they do that. So something to think about. People are still making the move because they want to be in the school systems because of those highly rated websites that talk about it all the time. And I mean, the results speak for themselves. People are constantly moving here all the time. So still a draw, but it did go down a little bit, I guess, technically speaking. Now, I'd be amiss if I didn't talk about housing in Bettendorf. And the housing here keeps going up and up and up. And that's great. If you're trying to get in here, it may not be so great because you are going to be spending more money trying to get into Bettendorf. Now, obviously the demand is there, but what about the supply of homes? Well, the supply of homes in Bettendorf, ironically, is the fastest growing in the Quad Cities because a lot of people are really building a lot when it comes to Bettendorf compared to the other cities like Davenport, Moline, Rock Island. But that doesn't mean that it's keeping up with demand. There is a lot of construction, but there is also a ton of demand trying to get into Bettendorf. So it is a little bit of a toss-up. You will be spending more if you're thinking about moving into Bettendorf for the house because of that demand and the lack of inventory that is available. So something to think about when making that move here. And if you are thinking about making a move, I have made over 200 videos on this channel about making moves to the Quad Cities and in Bettendorf. And I have actually compiled a relocation guide 41 pages long, and it may be very useful for you. So I did link it down in the description. So check that out if you want to get the relocation guide. We'd love for you to have it. So go click that link. Now, Bettendorf has notoriously been one of the lowest in taxes. Obviously, it's lower than Illinois, but it's also been lower than Davenport a lot of times on the levy rates. But in recent times, things have been getting more expensive for taxes because the housing prices have been going up. When I'm talking levy rates, I'm talking percentages. The percentages are low, but the houses are high priced, so you're actually paying more in a dollar amount, but at a levy rate, you're paying less. And in 2026, that's actually going to be increasing, specifically with some of those projects that we talked about early, most importantly, the police station. The police station is going to raise taxes here, and people are mixed with that, but they also voted for it. They think it's important to fund stuff like the police station, but that kind of cost is driving taxes up, and it may be worth it, it may not. It just depends on who you are as a person and if it's something that you're willing to partake in, if you're wanting to make the move to Bettendorf, because whether you want to partake in it or not, you buy a house in Bettendorf, you are going to partake. One of the most annoying things to me about Bettendorf is our construction of roads. Yes, I really do not like the construction that we have here. It seems like they're constantly fixing roads all the time, slowing down traffic, and it's really annoying when it's happening. But the thing I will say about that is it does allow us to have actually decent roads all the time, or most of the time. Sometimes you find one that isn't, but it's a headache to have to deal with, but it's worth it in the end, because if you go to other cities in the Quad Cities, they may not maintain the roads as well as Bettendorf. So it's something to think about. You will get a little bit inconvenience during those construction phases, but overall you're going to have less potholes. You're going to have easier drives when it comes to snow maintenance, because they don't have to bump over all the things and miss the snow. So overall, it's a good thing. It's just that sometimes, I don't know, I feel like they've done Middle Road like 3 or 4 times, and Devil's Glen probably another 5. I don't know, it's kind of crazy, but they do maintain them, so that's great. Just know that you're going to be dealing with that construction during the summer so that you could have good roads during the winter. Now, things you'll see in Bettendorf that maybe not see other places is a pride in the city. It seems like a lot of the community members do take a lot of pride in their city, which is great. One example, again, is that police station. They want to take ownership of it. They want to be a part of it so that we can keep that maintenance of the city, having that view of what it's like to live here. But not only that, if you walk around to like parks like this, you don't really see any trash anywhere. In fact, me and my wife, we walk every single day, and as a part of that, we do pick up trash. But we're not the only ones out there doing it. You see people picking up trash with their little pincher things. In fact, I got that for my wife's birthday. She asked for it, so don't think I'm a bad husband, but she did want it so that she could pick up the trash easier as we're doing our walks. So it's nice to see that we're not the only ones that do it, and it's good because the trash is all cleaned up. You don't see stuff laying around. So that pride and ownership is definitely here in Bettendorf, and it might be really good if it's something that you're looking for in your community. And you know, speaking of parks, Bettendorf, I would argue to say, has some of the best parks. But the thing about that is I may be a little biased. I do volunteer for the city as a park ambassador. And as a part of that, I go to every single park during the summer to make sure that things are taken care of. And I really do think things are taken care of. Very rarely do we have to report graffiti or big piles of trash or people fighting. That's another thing that we talked about. But very rarely do we actually have to report any of that because it doesn't happen that often. I'm not saying it doesn't. We did have a string of vandalism this last summer where either teenagers or somebody was pulling sinks off the wall in the bathrooms. But again, pretty minimal compared to what you could have. And those things got fixed. And yes, it sucks. The city has to take care of that. But they do take care of it, and that's the important part. So when moving here, the amenities, the parks, it's a really big benefit. And I do think it's still worth it in 2026 to have all of those different amenities moving forward. So here's the reality check. Bettendorf is changing. It's changing in good ways. It's changing in bad ways. It just depends on your perspective. So if you're liking it or you don't like it, either way, my number's popping up down below. Whether you want to move to Bettendorf, Davenport, Rock Island, Moline, give me a call, send me a text. I am the one that answers all those phone calls, emails, and text messages, and I do love answering questions that you guys might have. But if you want to check out a video about Bettendorf besides this one, check out this video right here.